Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and I'm sure we're gonna have a great video here on how to build a greenhouse. Now, I know you're asking, why do you want to build a greenhouse? And I'm going to tell you why I need to build a greenhouse. I've never built one, but I'm going to attempt it without any blueprints, just kind of winging it a little bit. But here's the reason why I need to build a greenhouse. And we're going to start off by this little section here on the front porch is up on my front porch wall, and as we work backwards, I'm going to show you what my front porches look like with my daughter Macy, and then my wife Anna has started, and they're doing a great job, but they are repopulating plants faster than I can buy pots to put them in. So awesome job they've got going here, and I think it's going to be great when we get this greenhouse built, that we can continue to populate and repopulate all these plants. But it's a continuous process. I'm anxious to get this done. But this is the front porch, and this is what happened when COVID-19 kicked in. I guess everyone was making plants and producing plants. So it continues around off the front porch into the corners, and they've got some really great things going, and even out into the front walkway here. So that's my goal. We're gonna work on this greenhouse, and hopefully you like the video, and stay tuned. It's gonna be great. Hey guys, Scott with the YouTube channel here, talking about a build that we're gonna look at coming up. And a couple of things I want to put it. I actually did this video that we're looking at right now currently after the fact of building this here, because I want you to make sure as you follow along, there's a lot of things that I've changed. As I built something, I had to change or make an adjustment. So again, make sure you go through the video thoroughly to make sure you understand some of the changes I did. Obviously, one example would be like the flashing. I put the flashing on before I put these boards on. Wasn't that big of a deal, but maybe you might not put your bolts in until after you put your front covers on. So just really look at the video. Hope you enjoy it, and keep watching, and the build is coming up right after this. So the first thing we're doing is establishing where we want it to go, and this is the foundation that I picked. You can kind of see an outline where I had some boards sitting down for a day or so, just to see if that's something I wanted to feel comfortable with. This is actually going to be a 16 by 13, I believe, is what my measurements came to when I walked it out. So I've already sprayed some weed and grass killer in this area, and I'm going to wait a couple of days, let that start working, and once it starts browning and dying off, the brush killer, I'm going to dig a section there, probably about, I don't know, 3 to 6 inches deep, and then go ahead and get the outline. And the next short video we should have, will have that in place. And I'm going to probably put some bricks around the corners, edges, to level everything out, but the foundation's important. All right, so as we cleared out a section, we're going to start leveling this out, and then we're going to put a black weed control barrier down with some cylinders all the way around, and then we'll lay our frame down on top of that. So we'll continue to do that, and do short 20-30 second shots, so the video's not too long. All right, here's where we are now. We've got the weed barrier down, and we got the boards already cut and aligned and leveled. Got to toss a little dirt in a couple of spots underneath, but for the most part it's leveled out pretty good. And now we're going to cut the boards on the side, and I went ahead and marked 2 foot all the way down. So that's just I put a 2x4 right there. That's the center of the 2x4, and then 2 feet all the way down for our side wall. Okay, and then again we're at the 2 foot mark down here for the back side, and it's going to be the same on both sides before we start the front. So that's where we are so far. Hopefully you guys are with me if you're doing the project and it goes easy. All right, we'll do an update here in a minute as I start putting the sides up. All right, so this is where we are so far. We got one side up. We're fixing to frame the rest. It's got a little sprinkling going on here for the next 5 days, calling for rain, so we're going to try to knock some out. But the left side's up. Took the 13-foot beams, pretty much like the beams are in the front, the boards that are in the front, bottom, and back. That's the same thing on the sides. I just cut them in half and then took another inch off, and then made 6-foot tall studs across the side, so that way less wood to cut, less wood to buy. So that's how we did that. And then for the bottom, we put the angle brackets in, lined them up every 2 feet across, marked the boards, and then ran them up, put a level on them, and then ran the 16-foot board across the top, the same as the bottom. Again, no cutting, less work, and put a level on it, and then went ahead and screwed them in. So now we're going to work on the right side, and then I'll let you guys know how we're going to set up the front, but we're going to go ahead and knock out this right side real quick. And again, marking your beams, I shouldn't say beams, marking your boards across the bottom, which we did. So we've got the marks for every 2 foot. We're going to put the board down with the angle bracket and then level it up and then put the board across the top. So very simple, very easy if you want to lay them down and do them, but I just suggest it's easier to do it this way here. Alright guys, here's where we are now. Me and my daughter Macy got up the other side, and then we went ahead and put up the back side too. Now the back side I did every 2 foot as well. The center board, I went off the center, so we put the 8-foot board in the center, 8-foot 2x4 we put in the center, and then I measured out 2 feet after that so we could still maintain that 2 feet apart, so we can get our plexi board or whatever we decide to put inside for our outside. But anyway, so that's going to be done a little bit different than the front, and that's why I wanted to hold the front till last. Put brackets up in place to hold the 2x4s. You can do it that way, or you can just screw it straight in at angles, however you like. I just thought it was easier to throw these 98-cent brackets in and have that done. So again, and then we've got our board over here to hold it level. So every board is flush and level that we checked, as well as the sides. So we're in good shape going into the final phase of framing it up, which is going to be the front. And again, the boards, and I'll put it on my link at the bottom, but the long boards on the side are 2x4 by 16. Then the side boards are 2x4 by 12, which is a little bit longer than 12. So you'll have a little bit of extra room to play with when you lay it out and cut it. And then every stud is 2 feet apart. Pretty simple, framing it. We're going to finish the front side here shortly, and I'll come back to you guys on that piece. Thanks. All right, so we've got the back on, the front on, the sides on, leveled and plumbed. So we got the brackets just holding it in place as we continue to work on the top. Now I do have the brackets put on the top 8-foot beams. So that's the 8-foot 2x4 that was cut. Then I've got a bracket here to hold it. Now what I want to show you guys to make it easy, when you put that board up and you start doing your ties for your roof and your boards to be cut, I'm going to take that board and lay it down on the side right beside all my beams, studs on the side, and I'm going to go ahead and mark it in the center. So I'll take this board, this is the long board that's going to go across the top, the 16-foot 2x4, it's going to go across the top center, and I'm going to go ahead and mark it, and then I'm going to apply these. I set them there so you guys can see what I'm talking about. And one to go on each side, so it's perfectly setting up that way. So you'll have it on that side and then it's going to be flipped for the other side to run. So it's just going to make it simplified, a little bit easier, and that way you don't have to shoot screws in at angles when you get on the roof. And again, these are like $2 a piece at Lowe's, is where I got them from. You don't have to do that. I'm just choosing to do that to make the job simplified and a little bit easier. But anyway, that's the next step. Once I get all these brackets on and the board up, I'll shoot you guys another video right behind it. So I'm trying to do this in segments versus a fast forward, me doing it and then you guys trying to figure out what's what. So as you go right now, the frame is pretty much there for the bottom piece, and now we're going to start on the top section. Alright, so this is the board that's going to go across the top, and we had it lined up, and I measured all the beams so it would be exact. I could just took 2 foot and measure it the same way, so it's just easier to lay it down there like I did. And what we're looking for is the bracket. So after you line both sides, you get your mark off your beams, and then you come over with your T-square and you line it all the way down. So you're going to go ahead, and it's what the diamonds are for in the center. Going to line up that and put that bracket on. And then after that bracket's set, and you got them set all the way on the other side, that's going to come over on the other side here, and that's why they're cut. So you can just put it right here, and the same thing, we should line up, and you can see how it matches up evenly. So that's what that's going to look like when we're completely done, and that should help out and make the job easier when you're setting them across the top. Alright, so completed the full hangers on there on the 16-foot bracket, 16-foot 2x4. So they're completely done, and when you look at it, you'll see it's right on the lines that I measured both sides. That way I know I'm lined up when I set it across the top, and make sure that's flush. Now the one on the end, both the ones on the end, I'm just going to take my cutting tool and just zip that right off real quick, and that way it's nice and smooth, but it's held fairly strong, and you don't have to worry about, you know, going up there and shooting screws in on each side of the board at an angle to try to get them to hold. Once you get your boards up there, they're just going to completely slide in, and you're going to shoot screws on each side, and you're good to go. So hopefully that'll help, and I'll shoot you a photo here in just a sec. Right after this, the video will show you with it being put in place. Thanks. Alright, so we just got through putting the beam across the top with the brackets on. Only thing I ran into was I'd probably wait and not put the last ones in. If you look closely, the bracket that I currently had up there waiting to put the beam in place, I had to go up under it, so I had to shoot another screw under it. So I had to take that bracket off, if you can see it, and then put the screw on, and then put the bracket back in. So that was the only thing I ran into. Other than that, it went end to end without any issues, leveled, and it looks great. Again, that's without doing any extra hard work. I just lined it up with the boards down here, and it should be fine. Once we get it up there and in place, it's gonna line up great. So looking forward to doing that next, and I'll start working on that, show you guys a shot prior to cutting all the boards and putting it up, and that's where we are in the project as of right now. Alright, good morning. So far now, what I did, next step is cut one piece with it flush up top. This thing's real tricky apart for me anyway. And we'll cut one piece and flush it up to the top bracket. And I had it hanging over. Now if you want to your frame to hang over, then you can buy 10-foot boards or even 8-foot boards to work. 8 2x4s. I went ahead and bought 2x4x8 for all the way down, so I have less waste
and you can do that, and then go ahead and hang them over if you want to hang over. I want mine flush, because I'm going to run this plastic straight down level, and then tie it in so it just has a runoff. If I want to put a rain guard up here, I can. But anyway, that's my game plan. I want it flush. And if you put a wrap on it, I would suggest you put it flush as well. It's going to be a lot easier. So the way I'm going to show you to do this is once you get your first cut in place and flush and screwed in, like I did here, and I'll bring the camera closer. What you want to do is you take a piece of wood, and this is already flush and level, and we're just going to put that right up here, and then we're going to make a line. Make your line with 2x4. That's going to give you your cut line for the inside. And it's just a simple way for me to do it. I'm sure there's other different ways. There are a lot of folks that comment. I'm not a carpenter. I'm just putting this together the best I know. So anyway, that's how I'm going to do this piece here. And then I'll show you a close-up as well. I decided to put brackets down on each one of these. So this is reverse cut. So that way, when this comes down, it's just going to sit in there nice and flush, and I can just mount it in. And it's going to work out really good that way. So again, that's your decision.
Let me give you a close-up on what I was referring to. So once you get it flush up top and it's mounted in, and then you take that board again, put it level, even, and then just do a slice, a pencil strip, and that's going to give you your cut for that side. That's your angle you need, and then when you put it on your saw, you know the cut you need. And then again, this one here, I just want to put this up to show you guys how I did that, and it's going to sit in there nice and flush. I'll put another screw in there, but I'm going to put them all the way down. And the reason I do this, again, if I ever want to switch something out, or if I have a beam go bad or a part or something go bad throughout, I can replace one part easy, that I don't have to get up under there and cut screws or sawzall. I can just do a quick cut there. Now up top, obviously, I'd have to cut. I've got the screw shooting down, but to replace it from the bottom is going to be pretty easy. So that's where we are now. Next step is to go ahead and cut every one of these the top beams. I'm going to cut them all except for the two outside ones, because I'm going to have to do something a little bit different. Haven't figured that out yet. But obviously it's going to come down to the outside of the edge, so I've got to figure out how to make that flush and level with the top one. I think I'm just going to shorten it and then bring it down to right here, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see how that works out. Anyway, that's where we are now. The next photo I should show you, hopefully, is with all the beams. I'm going to go ahead and cut them all now with all the beams in place and intact, and then we'll go from there. All right, after a few hours later, got all of them on except for the two front, two back. Again, I'm going to have to trim that a certain way. But when you guys do that, then you're level on the sides at the top, and you can go ahead and wrap it. So if you're just doing your greenhouse where you're just doing the plastic wrap, then you can go and do your own thing from here once you get the frame up. Now, unfortunately, I'm doing the plastic, the heavy-duty roofing plastic. I forget what that's actually called. It's Tuftex is what it is. It's the PolyCarb. So the Tuftex PolyCarb I'm going to put in slats. So with that being said, on mine, unfortunately, I'm going to have to come back and lift it up so it overhangs just slightly and is smooth across the top. So I just got to give it enough lip on the edge coming down so I can run that PolyCarb down. So I've got to redo them brackets and lift them up probably about 1/4 inch each, which isn't too bad, just time consuming. So again, that's the direction I'm going, but
you guys are doing it flat and flush, then you're good to go with your plastic. Start stapling up and go from there. And again, I'll continue this video with what I'm doing, but you know, the frame is the hard part as far as once you get your plastic. If you're just wrapping it up in the plastic, your frame's your hard part. So hopefully that helped, and I'll talk to y'all shortly. All right, here we are after the modification. So the last shot you seen was all the beams across the top are flat and level with the sideboard, so you can just wrap it and go. Now I'm putting PolyCarb plastic across the top, the clear sheets. So I lifted all my edges about 1 inch. So we've got them all the way down, so I can run the sheets straight down. They're a little over 2 foot wide each, so it's going to be pretty easy to put up. I already measured some of my beams that are going to go across the center. The studs, I should say, that's going to go across there. I'm probably going to put, I don't know if I'm going to do them 2 feet across, or I'm going to put one in the 3 foot mark. So still debating on the ridge top roof there. So once I get that done, I'll shoot you guys a separate photo right after this one. But this is where we are. The front, I readjusted, made some modifications to the front and the back. I cut the beams across the top so I could go ahead and get a angle board for the roof on the front and back. Going to do the same thing, so that way I didn't have to modify any of the cuts. Went ahead and did the left side here. Instead of 3 foot wide, I went ahead and did it 2 feet wide, and then that board there that's screwed up to the top will have a separate stud that's going into it and straight down. Then I'm going to tack it into the left, because that's going to be covered up on the left side. And then the right side I left it open completely for door frame once I figure out what size door we want to put in there, and I'll figure that out from there. And then I'll reframe that a little bit depending on the door and what we decided to put in there. So that's where we are right now, guys. So looking really sharp, and like I said, just between work and working on this here, the timeline is a little bit tighter than I want to. Not getting to spend as much time on it as I'd like, but that's where we are right now. And hopefully the next photo I should have completed with you right after this. I'm going to put the beams across the centers, and then of course I'm going to finish off, start working on the roof a little bit. So I'll hopefully have some good footage on that. Thanks. Hey guys, another pretty day here in Carolina. Went ahead and put the double runner there, so they're about 2 feet apart from top, roughly. So let me show you guys how I did that as well. Went ahead and made all the cuts. So my other side is already set up. I've got the cuts ready, and I've got the marks already as well through the top. So when you come across and look at it here, I still got this last beam to put up. But anyway, you're going to put 2 screws on the outside. So you're going to do 1 board at a time. So after you finish that board, you're going to put another board up, screw on the outside, and then I went ahead and screwed it from the bottom. Then I went across the back side, so each side has 2 solid screws holding it in. Again, each side here is screwed in with 2 screws on this side, and then the bottom other side has 1 screw in the bottom and 1 caddy corner up across the top. So makes it pretty easy, and you could stagger them if you want to. I just think this is a cleaner look if you keep the beam going straight down. Plus with that poly, you'll see you're going to want it straight across. So but that's your decision. The screws that I'm using obviously are the 3-inch ones that I have listed in the bottom, and then as you see the top I've got marked and ready to go. So it's just going to be easy just to get up here and just run them straight down and knock it out in 15 minutes or so after you have all your cuts and ready to go. I did measure, as you can see, each one to validate. All of them are 22.5 inches, except for 2 of them were off on this side and 2 on the other side. So make sure you do your measurements. Hopefully it all aligns to 22.5, but almost every one of them did, with the exception of 3 sections that was 22 1/8, I think, is what it ended up. Not much off, so I'm pretty satisfied with it being coming out pretty much even all the way across and running right. But anyway, that's where we are with that, and we're gonna knock these out, and then I'm gonna do that front angle beam, and then do them 4 boards as well, and then we should be in good shape with this roof. Hey guys, here we are now, finished the roof completely as far as the framing goes, so we're in good shape there, and ready to go for the top. Now we're going to start focusing on the sides. Same thing, we're going to do the sides a little bit differently when it comes to that, and I'll swing the camera around here and show you what the game plan is. Obviously we're talking 6 foot up from the top to the bottom is 6 foot. So what the game plan is the polycarb is 8 foot. So I'm going to cut them in half, drop them to 4 feet apiece for the sides all the way around. Not quite all the way around, but for the most part all the way around. And then we're going to put the 8 foot board up. I'm going to cut that into sections. I've got it marked off. So we'll get 4 cuts out of that, 2 foot tall, and then we're going to run that all the way around the bottom, and then 2 foot up, and then finish off with the polycarb 4 foot up. So we're going to go ahead and cut all of these and have them ready. We'll come back with probably staining that later down the road, but this is all weathered, and it's good to go for outside. Probably put a cedar finish on that. But anyway, that's where we are right now. I'm going to start working on that. I'm going to make all my cuts so I can go ahead and put the bottom piece all the way around, and then I'll start working on the inside and putting my studs across the middle and then framing it up. I don't think I need to go all the way down to where that board is. That's why I want to get them up first and then see, because I might be able to get away with 3 foot in between centered. So we'll know once I get that up how I feel about it. Anyway, that's where we're at so far in the build. Hope you guys stick with me if you haven't already watched it all the way through. Thanks. Alright, so this is where we're at right now. I cut 4 boards. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to temporarily put them up there. Not temporarily, just stabilize 1 or 2 until I get them done with the nail gun. I'm going to come back with the screws. I want to make sure I already marked my spot. I want to make sure I'm dead center so I can overlap the edges so we have a good secure fitting there. So, make sure I'm all the way down. I'm just going to put one in for right now. So I hold it there. Then I'm going to make sure I'm the same way across the top. Then I'm going to come back with screws, but I just want to get this in. I do not want to take it all the way down to the bottom to cover that, because I want the water to run off of the bottom piece of wood. So it's not just sitting there retaining water holding on the inside. I want it to shuffle off when it to run off the back side. So that's why I left it up just on that beam there. And once I'll cover that with a little bit of dirt, as time goes, I'll start covering with grass and so forth. So that's where we are right now. You're going to continue that flow all the way down and overlap the edges, which I did. Left enough room in between, so it should look good all the way down and level. Hey guys, this is where we're at now. After I tacked it up, I'll come back with screws and put it in place, but that's 1 board cut into 2 foot sections, so it's quick and easy. Doesn't take much time at all. And then of course, being 1 person, you want to make it easy as possible. If you're lucky enough to have someone like my daughter around, it comes out and gives a hand and holds things level for you, etc. It makes it easier. But anyway, if you're doing it solo, it's still just a little bit easier as well when you're doing it solo. Less cuts and extend as much wood as you can out of what you got. Hey guys, this is the bottom section put on. Again, I used a nail gun at the beginning, made sure it was leveled out, and checked the height to make sure. Now unfortunately it's a little bit longer than 4 feet across the top, so I'm gonna have to modify a little bit again. And again, this is build as I go, as you can see. But anyway, that's where we are. We've got the bottom section done now, and now that PolyCarb is going to be easy just to put on this top piece and put a beam, I should say a stud across the center, and then I'm just going to run one piece down, overlapping each other all the way down. So it's going to have an opening all the way around, 4 foot up, a little over 4 feet up, and then the roof is going to have PolyCarb all the way across the top too. So it's going to be a pretty much fully opened huge greenhouse, I should say. So anyway, that's where we are, and keep watching, and we'll go through that next step, which is going to be putting the studs across the top section here. And once we do that, that's going to give me the room that I need to get to my 4 feet from top and overlay the bottom there. And I'll video a couple of shots as we start moving into that, and so you guys can kind of see what I'm referring to versus just showing you the shots after the fact. Thanks. And as we continue to work around, get the studs across the top and across the edge of the bottom, be tacking that all the way around, and the same in the front. That gives me the 4 foot room that I need for the PolyCarb, and hopefully that's our game plan throughout the day. As you see, we got the wood laid out and cut, so it should be fast and easy to put in place. Went ahead and just checked all the measurements and made all my cuts for all the way around, so I can just knock that out pretty fast. So that's the game plan for today. Beautiful day here in Carolina, so should be quick and easy to knock out the studs, put these up in place, and then turn around, and I am going to put a strip across the top, the cap, with the same material, all-weather material. Probably going to be about 4 to 6 inches straight down across the top on each side. That's going to allow my PolyCarb to rest and get mounted up across the top as well. So but we'll get to that after we finish our sidings. Alright, so we got it all completely done, all framed up and ready to go. We've got all our boards completely sealed all their way around, inside and outside. So now we're going to start on the PolyCarb 4 foot strips straight down. And a couple of things to keep in mind when you're cutting your poly. There's a couple of different ways. I'm using some 10 snips for mine, so I do have it marked, and we're going to use 10 snips and just cut it right on my 4 foot marker that I've marked. I'm only doing a couple at a time, but there's videos out there where it shows that you can do 10 and 12 at a time or 6 at a time with the saw. I'm choosing not to do it that way. And anyway, we'll get started on the cuts, and then I'll show you guys how we're going to mount that up. And these are the items that I'm going to use. Okay, so it's the fasteners, and it's the foam that goes in between your ridges. And if you look right here, I'm going to go ahead, and I already know where I need to go. I'm going to go ahead and pre-drill my holes. Highly recommended that you pre-drill your holes. So I'm going to pre-drill my holes so it's easy to put this up, and then the bottom section I won't pre-drill, but the top I will, to make it easy to hang if you're doing this by And so we've got one side up right now. And then I'm going to come back and make sure it's airtight. The other side, front piece, we started working on, and you almost need 2 people to do this. I'm going to show you what I'm doing here. Obviously it doesn't need to be a windy day to do this, but we put the top piece across first, and then we're going to come in and do the bottom, and I'll show you why. It's a little bit easier to do it that way. This is how I'm doing it. So we started with the first piece. Once you get the first piece on, you're good, and then you can adjust your foam as you drill the plastic and put it in. So as we're doing that, I can show you a couple of them. What we're going to do is you come in, and I'm using a nail gun to tighten it up with the sheets. So I'm just getting a rough estimate. So once you line it up, I'm just putting it in just to hold that spot for a second, and then just ever so slightly, of course that foam will pull off, but then we're going to go in here and line it up. Okay, and as you can see, it's lined up pretty good top and bottom, so I'm in good shape. Now all I need to do is tack my drill. I'm going to drill a hole here and then drill a hole right here, and that will just hold it in place as I continue to move down. You see I've got 2 in each, and then the bottom is free, and then we're going to come back and do the bottom. Probably do half of it first and then finish the second half, but that's going to be the easiest way, especially if you're doing it solo, but you still almost need 2 people because they have to get in there and move that foam to be level, or at least look level straight across as you drill your hole in and then put it into the wood. So I found so far that's the easiest way to do this project, but it's going to go a lot faster too when we do it this way with the foam. Holding the foam in place is probably the hardest part of this project. Anyway, that's where we are right now. We're going to finish knocking this side out and then do the back, top, and then we're going to come across the bottom. The bottom should be quick and easy once we get on the roll. Alright, so here we are with the side put up. So obviously you still have the edges to do, trim the back section, but it's screwed in all the way down and sealed, top and bottom. And then we're going to knock out the back, and then we can say that we are completely, have all the polycarbonate all the way across, all the way around I should say, the bottom section. And again, except for the edge trim, which I'm going to put a trim, corner trim piece on it to pull them together all the way around, and then we'll start on the top. But so far so good. If you guys got any questions, just shoot me a question down at the bottom and I'll respond to you. Thanks. Alright, so now we're completely done with the polycarb on the outside. So pretty good shape overall. Had to do some adjusting a little bit in the back, but now it's all intact and secured. Obviously you got to come back and do the trimming on all your corners. And the next step is going to be working on this rooftop. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the same board, and I ripped it 5 inches, and we're going to run 5 inches straight down each side in the center. And that's going to allow me to set these guys on and tack in the polycarb boards all the way down. So that's our next step. We can go ahead and put that in, and I'm just going to tack that down with my nail gun to make it quick and easy. Alright, ridge cap is done. 5 inches on each side is what we're looking at. So the polycarbonate is going to sit on top of that, and then we're going to put a cap. It's going to run all the way down on top of that, so it'll be completely sealed, airtight, and watertight. So we'll be really good shape there on that piece. So running out of daylight today, so I think that's where we're at right now. And after being inside, I debated probably going to put a beam, an 8-foot beam on cylinder block a little bit, just to get some more suspension and sturdiness in the dead center. It's pretty solid. However, North Carolina, we typically get some hurricanes fly through, as well as 80-mile-an-hour wind and tropical storms, etc. So I think I'm going to just make that center beam a little bit more stronger and probably put a 8-foot beam in the center on some bricks. I measured it all the way down. It's exactly 8 foot to the bottom all the way down, so it's straight and it's level. However, I'm just going to go ahead and put another brace in the center just for a little bit more stability. I love the openness. I hate taking away from it, but also want to go ahead and make sure this thing's going to last for a while. Okay, so as we talked about on the last one, I went ahead and put a 4x4 post in the center, completely level and straight, and we just give it a little bit more support for storm and storm weather. So pretty solid. We're starting the top now, and we're gonna go over installing that. It's pretty easy. We did one sheet. I put the center cap strip across the top, and then show you guys how we do that top. Like I said, very easy. We're gonna let it overhang, then I'm gonna come down and cut that off even all the way down the side, so that way I can just go ahead and install it with the overhang, and then come back and cut that. So it's gonna make it a little bit easier. I could possibly cut each one of them to the length I need, but if I'm offset just a little bit, I wanted it looking nice and even and sharp, so that way I don't have to keep adjusting them, so I can just throw them down from the top and level them out and go. So that's where we are as of right now.
Alright, so we got our second sheet up here, and you want to make sure a couple of things. One, you're overlapping your first one. Okay, and I already drilled a hole through both of them here to help me out, and then every other one is recommendation for your hose. And I go every other one, and then I've been doubling up where it overlaps each other. So we're going to do that all the way down. Now I'm doing mine at the top first, and that way I can come back and overlap them. So once I get that in place and you get them drilled, you can put your one bolt in each one across the top. And what I found is working for me is then go down and do each strip, and then I'll do another strip. So continue to do that. Obviously a taller ladder sometimes is better. Alright, and then I'll continue doing that, tightening these up, and then I'm going to do this strip, that strip, and then we're going to put another extension here. So I'm doing one at a time as I go. That way one I can get to, and then I can check each one to make sure it's level across the top and bottom. You don't have to worry about super tight. You just want to pull enough down to the foam, because this side of the roof and that side I'm not having any openings, so it's going to be airtight. And then with my cap, the roof cover is going to cover this completely as well, so it just runs off into here and completely goes. So we'll be in good shape. Continue to do that all the way down, and this section will be done. What I did at the bottom, because of the lip a little bit, put a 1x1 strip and then put the foam on that. That way I don't have that small gap. And because I want my overhang up, I talked about it in the very first of the video. I had to readjust it, so I wanted to overhang and go off and over the edge versus straight down to the wood, which you can still do depending on which wood you want to do. But I want mine to hang and run off. So if I ever want to put a rain gutter down the road or something like that, I can do that without having to make any major modifications. But that's the top. That's how easy it is. Just once you get the first one in, you just put your foam down, line them up, and go. And it should be a quick and easy process once you get your holes drilled, and you get motion in that motion. So next video we will be showing you where this side is completely done, and we'll be moving on and working on the other side. I probably don't need to film that to show you guys how that's done, but I just want to show you guys it's important that two things: drill the hose, and you have your foam in line with your ridges. So drilling your hose is probably the most important part because of expansion with heat. You don't want these things cracking because they don't have any room to expand and move around. So anyway, that's where we're at, and we'll talk to y'all shortly.
All right, so here we are with it completed, and we got the center running down now. This is our next step. We're going to go ahead, and I decided to put some insulation, so I'm going to put a strip of insulation in here before I put the cap on, and then we're going to run I think it's about 5 of these caps straight down the center. I'm going to drill them into the studs, pull them in just a little bit on each side, and the only reason I'm putting the insulation is two reasons. One, want to make sure that I'm completely airtight in some of the sections that you might have a little lift, possibility to get some air flow in there, but more importantly to keep wasp and other bugs from coming inside and making nests and then getting inside the greenhouse as well. So it's just going to help another piece to insulate it. Now you could probably marry them up close together or run more screws down, but I chose to do it this way. It's just going to be a little bit easier, but the hard part is going to be crawling across the top of this, and I'm going to work front to back when it comes to that. So I'm going to go ahead and put the insulation on, and then I'm going to start with the caps, and definitely going to need some help with someone passing me stuff while I'm up here on this roof. Now you could probably put a plywood piece across the side and work off of that, but that's, you know, that's going to be a challenge as well. So I thought about doing that, but I think I'm just going to try to attempt to crawl on my belly and work across the top there, front to back, and get this done.
So this is how I decided to do the roof. I actually got plywood up here where I could stabilize myself in between the beams, so it worked out pretty good. I had my daughter passing me stuff though, which I needed to have. So all we're doing is we're backing into where the beams are at, and you're still going to screw right through that polycarbonate wood and then the polycarbonate sheets, and then we're using the washer screws that we're using on the polycarbonate cut. Alright, so we ended up putting plywood across, and I started at the front and worked my way down. And the way these pieces are, they ended up using about 5 of these individual roof caps. And I had to get creative in a couple of spots because they're not actually even with the beams lengthwise. They're a lot longer, so I had to get creative there. So the last piece we're putting in, we're putting right across the top. The last one, that insulation under the bottom, and lined up with the final back side. Each one of these, I did the same thing as I did with the polycarbonate. Go ahead, you want to drill right in. So through your polycarbonate board. You're using the same thing, you're using your washer screws, the rubber washer on it, so that way it keeps any leakage from going out. So
of doing one at a time just so it don't blow the top up too much. Good there, just like this, back off there a little bit. And then with the heat, that will slowly start going down as the weeks go by. With the sun beating on it, it's going to start leveling out the material it's made of. Okay, so we're good to go. Next rain, we'll definitely check it out, make sure we have no leaks. And the next part we're going to do is we're going to do our sides here in a little bit, and we'll measure for that to tie the plastic polycarbonate sheets together on the sides. Okay. All right, so our corners, how we're going to tie these up, it's just a corner piece of aluminum. So we've already pre-drilled the holes in the aluminum. And I'm going to come and drill the holes again in my plastic polycarbonate board. And then we're going to set it up just like that. So that way it just pulls the corners in. We're going to do that on all four sides. We don't have to worry about anything else there, and that just pull it in nice and tight, and we don't have to shoot a whole lot of screws and put a lot of pressure on it. So we're going to go ahead and knock out 3. I'm going to save the front door one till the last, the corner one till the last. Area we'll focus on at the very end, but that's where we are right now. All right, so this is where we are. We've got the corner piece tied in. And we got them on 3 corners. The only thing we didn't do yet was the front section. So we're looking good here. Got that tied in completely on all 3 corners. So we are good all the way around, completely sealed up there. So our next step that we're doing, as you can see, I'm trimming 3 inches roughly off of this that's overhang. So what we got going, I marked 3 inches, red lines all the way down, and then I'll be taking the shears and just walking straight down and cutting that straight down to make that even. I can do that on both sides. Again, that gives me allowance for if I want to put a rain gutter down the road on that. I can make some adjustments, either cut more or I can leave it where it's at and bring the gutter out further. So just depending on which style that you use. Anyway, that's where we are right now, and hopefully should have both sides cut off on the next section here. Getting a lot done today, but we're losing daylight pretty fast, beginning of October here in South Carolina, so got to move fast throughout the day. All right, so we've got our trim pulled in here. Now we got to start working on getting our trim pulled in, our polycarbonate boards in across the top. We've cut both sides down, so as you can see on both sides, we've got here as well. We've trimmed it so we got the 3 inches overhang on both sides. So that's where we are now. And then what we're going to do is start working on top. This is just basic flashing that I got. Obviously with the wind and rain that we had here in Carolina, we'll make sure that it's covered on the edges. So I'm going to trim the foams, pull this down, cover that up real good, and then back screw it in with the same screws. And that'll look good. And we're going to get it on both sides. And then we'll do the back 2 sides with just the flashing, so it comes completely down and runs off just like it would off the rooftop. So we'll get the seal on the top, and we'll be completely flush and have all our corners sealed, with the exception of where we're going to put our door and that side over there. So our next video, we should have hopefully all 4 of our flashings up. And again, this section up here, I've still got to work with a little bit to get that look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, I should say. But I'll figure some cap or something to put in there to make that look good. But that's where we are right now. We're going to work on our flashing. Alright, so we've got our trim pulled in here. Now we got to start working on getting our trim pulled in,
polycarbonate boards, carpet boards in across the top. We've cut both sides down, so as you can see on both sides, we've got here as well. We've trimmed it so we got the 3 inches overhang on both sides. So that's where we are now. And then what we're going to do is start working on top. This is just basic flashing that I got. Obviously with the wind and rain that we had here in Carolina, we're going to make sure that it's covered on the edges. So I'm going to trim the foam, pull this down, cover that up real good, and then tack screw it in with the same screws. And that'll look good. And we're going to get it on both sides. And then we'll do the back 2 sides with just the flashing, so it comes completely down and runs off just like it would off the rooftop. So we'll get the seal on the top, and we'll be completely flush and have all our corners sealed, with the exception of where we're going to put our door in that side over there. So our next video, we should have hopefully all 4 of our flashings up. And again, this section up here, I've still got to work with a little bit to get that look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, I should say, but I'll figure some cap or something to put in there to make that look good. But that's where we are right now. We're going to work on our flashing.
All right, so this is the Larson door. It comes pretty easy. What I ended up doing,
Obviously off the video like everything else,
I put another 2x4 in here.
so I went ahead and put the flashing here, sealed this in completely, and put the 2x4 in so I can extend it. It's looking for an opening of about 36, I believe, 35 and 7/8 to 36, and that's what I measured inside. And I'm having cut a piece of board here, and then of course running the top. So very easy to hang these doors once you got yourself framed up. 35 and 7/8 to 36, left to right or squared. It was a matter of probably 20 minutes to hang the door 30 tops, but you're going to do a set screen. I'm sure there's a lot of videos on there how to hang a door, but so this is good to go. Obviously, got to put handles on it. The one that came with it was a knob on the outside, lock on the inside. But I probably, since it being outside, obviously, I'm probably going to change that and put a lock key one on the outside with a latch. So the one that came with this door doesn't have it. So before I do any cuts, I'm going to do some research before I do that. Down the road. So we're getting closer. Going to finish this off with the wood and probably a window maybe, or some type of decorating. If not, I'm just going to close it out. And same with the top, I'm going to just close out both sides on the tops and silicone some of the inside wood, just to make sure there's no gaps in there for any air to, cold air to come in. So we're moving pretty fast, guys. It's looking good. I'm anxious to get it done. The floor, unfortunately, is going to be a part 2, I'm sure. And then probably the louver to open and close is going to be a part 2 video as well. So we'll tie that in together. But as we finish up here, I'll give you a complete circle of it here in just a few seconds. But now I'm going to continue to put my 2x4 studs across and go ahead and finish the back side and close that out. My game plan today is to finish it completely, closing it out, so we're good to go. We can start putting stuff in and then worry about the floor after the winter time. Thanks. All right, a couple of things, guys. We finished up this section right here. I'm going to go ahead and close it all in because it's obviously October, like I said. I'm going to put the fan in the back side, and that's probably going to happen in the spring, like I said in the prior video. But we're going to go ahead and finish this up. What I did change a little bit as I continually change as I'm building this, because I'm learning, I went ahead and took the flashing bolt screws off, and I cut my wood so it's going to fit up under my flashing and close it out that way. So went ahead and cut all my wood, made sure it was in place, and then I'm going to go back and screw it down. This one here is pretty much solid. Where I'm going to have it join was right here. I put a 2x4, and then also where it's joining down here, it's got a 2x4. I'm going to leave this section open just in case I want to do a louver and open in there in the spring, right for the summer. If I want to change anything, I'll leave it open. I can always come back and put a stud in there to hold it a little bit tighter. But let's go ahead and start putting these boards in. So pretty quick and easy. I went ahead and made sure I had the same edge when I cut it, so I didn't have to change a lot. All I'm going to do is tuck it right in and let it work its way up. And then I'm in a good place there. I'm going to shoot a screw in to hold that section. Make sure I'm lined up pretty good here, which I am off center just slightly. So I'm going to kick it over just a little bit. There you go, a lot better. And I'll come back and finish screwing that in pretty tight. I'm going to continue across the top. And I did have to put a small piece in across the top ahead of time. I suggest that you go ahead, if you're doing it that way, just go ahead and piece it all out before you put it together. And that way you know where you're at. Pretty good there. And again, I'm going to leave this open. I'm not going to put a stud in there yet until I decide what I want to do in that area. And one thing I probably didn't show you guys, I put a 2x2 straight across the top ridge. So the 2x2 is going to help a couple of things. One, make this a little bit more solid across the top and have a spot for it to just run off. And then also so it doesn't run inside my polycarb anywhere. So it just kind of seals it up a little bit, and it's going to work out a lot better that way. We're looking good there. Pretty much lined up all the way across. I'm just going to put one in. To hold it. I'm going to finish up the corner here. Okay, so now I'm going to come back and get my flashing in place. Might have to re-drill a few holes depending on where I'm going to pull it down at. But now it's covered, sealed really good. Can run straight off and still don't have to worry about it coming inside anywhere inside with all the foam and double coverage I have. So that's pretty easy, simplified. Like I said, I'm going to come back and finish screwing the flashing in after I tack the boards down a little bit more solid, and then we should be in good shape. And then we'll do the back side, and then it'll be completely sealed once I finish the 2x2s all the way around, and then the back side, then we're pretty much completed with the back, so I'm anxious to get this one completed all the way around. And I'll be back. Alright guys, so we're pretty much done with the build. A couple of small things left to do. Finish up the back side as we do a walkthrough. I'll show you all the stuff that we've got left to do, but I'm going to call this part 1 because I'm pretty much completely done. It's fully sealed. I've got some sealant to do, but I'll show you that in just a second. So the front we're completely done with. All I have left is just to cover the cap, and I'm going to insulate that. The door is completely secured. We're in good shape now. The 2x2s, they're out in all the 3 Lowe's in town that I went to, and so I'm waiting for that to come back in. So I'm going to put that on all the bottoms and across the sides and the top, which is going to help the leak proof in there. And as we work our way around, I put a little thermometer on the outside. I'm going to put a casing for that so it doesn't get a lot of weather damage, so you can see the difference in temperature from the outside and the inside. So again, the sides, I'm just going to put the trim across the top and the bottom, and that'll seal that up. And then on the back side, of course, we got our aluminum corners. Then our back side, I had enough wood to do the trim and get that completely sealed up. So we're in good shape here. Again, this is where the fan's going to go. The fan's going to go here, or I'm going to put a louver door. Haven't decided which way I'm going to do it. That's going to be in part 2 with the floor, most likely. We're going to tie that together. And the same with this side as we work our way around. We're completely done here, with the exception of the trimming that we have to do on the tops and the bottom. And then as we work our way to the inside, okay, the door, 36-inch door. Okay. It's got the trim pretty solid. I've got to put a door sweep left on it. That's all I have left to do there. And as we work our way to the inside, it's about 80 degrees right now outside on that reading, and it's 91 in here. Yesterday it was about 70 degrees with the sun shining, and it was 97 degrees inside. So it's definitely warm, and that's we're at October 10th roughly, so we're starting to head into the cool weather. So it's definitely going to make a difference here once it's done. A couple of things I'm going to do on the inside, I've already started doing. I put a sealant in all my cracks to make sure we help get that a good seal. So I'm going to work that the same with the bottoms. I'm going to put caulk, clear caulk and sealant all the way around, just to keep it during the winter time to have any cool air flow through as the heater works. So that's pretty much it, guys. Pretty solid floor we're going to do in part 2, and the ventilation we're going to do in part 2. So we'll have a separate video after this one. So hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll have a lot of links at the bottom where you can research anything you need to, whether it be the polycarbonate boards. I'll try to give you a price range of what it totally cost me, but again, I was kind of winging this and doing little by little and going to Lowe's 3-4 times a week to pick up stuff as I was learning how to build this, and I didn't have any plans or any blueprints or anything to go by. I just pretty much went by what I thought would work out really good, which it turned out pretty solid. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up. Also follow me on my channel. I've got a lot of other stuff and builds and cooks, etc. to do that you can look at. And again, hope you like it, and stay tuned for more down the road. You guys have a great day.